In DRI 2, we're asked to start to put on the hat of the investigator. We need to start to employ our tools and techniques and skills in order to do a deeper investigation. In DRI 1, we found a few red flags, but nothing compelling and really nothing very major. So we need to do this again in such a way as to not alert management, the board of directors, the audit committee, and yet provide some information to Lisa Martin. So what's one technique we can do? Well, certainly we can do an analytical review. We have 4 or more years of financial statements that we can examine. And so we can develop some ratios and examine those ratios across time. And in fact, an Excel spreadsheet for analytical review is provided to you. Given the spreadsheet, which is 1 page, discussion question 4 says, okay, what red flags, anomalies, and symptoms of fraud do you see here? What impact do these findings have on our investigation? Discussion question 4 from Major Case Investigation DRI asks us to take a look at this preliminary analytical review of ratio analysis. Now, there are a number of anomalies you may have identified as you went over this couple of pages of information, but there's a few important ones that I want to point out to you. First of all, notice that sales growth here is declining. It was as high as 12% in 2000 X2. It's all the way down to 6.63 in 2000 X4. The same pattern, although maybe more pronounced, is true for operating profit growth, or profit growth here. Now I want to combine this or show you this in contrast with a different ratio. And I think this is important because this is one of the things that good forensic accountants must do. And that is, let's look at this in comparison to accounts receivable. Look how much accounts receivable has grown and is growing. The growth in accounts receivable in 2000 X4 was almost 33% compared to 6.63% growth in sales. Those two should be much more closely aligned. This is a significant red flag or anomaly. Now, I also want to take you back to the cash flow package, or the financial reporting package, and look at the cash flow statement. This is page 6 of the financial reporting package. Notice what we've got going on here with the operating cash flow. There's virtually no growth here, 0.6% in 2000 X4. So while earnings have been growing, at least at some level, cash flows have not. And one of the reasons why cash flows may not be growing or may not be growing is because of accounts receivable collection problems. Now, there's a lot of different things going on in here, but certainly we can see a pattern related to the receivables in this section. Now, this is fairly significant. When financial statement fraud or possible financial statement fraud is rising to the level that cash flows from operations are being affected, it's pretty significant. This could also be due to an operational problem or other issue. So we can't conclude fraud, but we certainly have a much more concerning issue that we now need to investigate as a result of what we've seen between the analytical review and we combine that with the information in the cash flow statements. Again, one of the things that a good investigator needs to do is to be able to connect the dots and say, this doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense. Is there possibly a relationship between them? Clearly, there should be a relationship between sales growth, accounts receivable growth, And there should be a relationship between income and cash flows. And in this case, in DRI's case, we're just not seeing those correlations that we would expect to see.